It started arcing in there. And I don't get it. Wow. First time I've seen these valve covers without tape on them in a couple of years. So speaking of, today's the day. Well, it's going to be a few days, but today for you, we're going to try to fire this thing up for the first time. We're going to fire this thing up. We're speaking positive. No, I mean, one way or another, I'm going to get this thing fired up, and I'm fired up to get this thing fired up. Now, don't get me wrong, I've got a few things to do on the to-do list, one of which being, we're going to have to pull the engine out. And one, we got to get all this tape off and stuff. It's been in mock-up mode, but on mock-up mode, I never notched the mid-plate for the starter. So I got to machine the mid-plate a little bit for the starter, slam it all back together, a few odds and ends, some wiring, harness, boom, 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 coil packs, everything we got ready. We got all the pieces in play, and then try to fire it up. Try to, kick tires like fires. It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, generally, you build race cars to be serviceable, so it's not bad to pull an engine out of a race car most of the time. But also, there's no fluids, and that's like my least favorite part about pulling engines is just dealing with the mess, draining all the fluids, and then all these freaking hoses are dripping. It's a mess. It sucks. We don't have to deal with that with this. So realistically, shouldn't be too bad to yank this thing out, throw it back in. There's a couple question marks, which be good to learn now how it comes in and out. But other than that, it's kind of the main thing. Get that done and party on from there. And did I mention kick tires like fires? Let's get to it. Alright guys, real quick before we get too deep into the thick of it, because we have a lot to do, and I'm not stopping until I get this thing fired up for the first time, and that means there's probably more to do that I'm not thinking of that we gotta do. You know what I'm saying. Today's video is sponsored by Brunt Workwear. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you've definitely seen me wearing these boots. You've probably heard me talk about Brunts before, and yeah, I put some miles on these puppies, and I was just looking at them here to show you, and it's crazy how intact the soles are, because I'm a foot dragger. And yeah, I got my other Brunts on, so I can show you my main dailies, These are my main squeeze, But the thing that really converted me to a full-time boot wearer was the fact that with Brunts, it's like they took the most ridiculously thick cushioned insole and then designed a boot around that. So you get cushion, ridiculous amounts of cushion, but then you still have all this. You got a freaking 3-car garage for my feet, and let me tell you, it's kind of ruined me for wearing other shoes. Like, I go to put regular shoes on for something, my feet feel so freaking claustrophobic. They're like all crammed in here. So that was really what sold me on Brunt and what kept me coming back to Brunt. Because with other boots, it seemed like it was kind of like you got one or the other, right? But another big benefit, as I'm getting a little older, as much as I hate to admit it, working on things like pulling engines out, generally you get fluids on the floor, oil stuff, it gets slippery. And it's real slippery with tennis shoes. But these are oil resistant and non-slip. And let me tell you, I don't need to be slipping out here. I'm getting too old to be slipping around on a slip and slide in the freaking shop. So I've learned that lesson the hard way. And like I said, I wear these things day in and day out. I absolutely love them to death. If you're interested in trying out a pair for yourself, go to bruntworkwear.com, use my code TaylorA10 to get $10 off your first order over $60. I have full confidence once you try out a pair, specifically if you've already tried other boots, you will see what I mean. That being said, I gotta put these back on. I put my other ones on, like I said, so I can show you my dailies. And get to work. We got a lot to do. I don't have time for jibber jabber on this one. It's funny, I used to be so opposed to the idea of putting something together in a mock-up phase, knowing that I'm going to have to take it all back apart to put it together properly. But, honestly, it is kind of the better way to do it most of the time. And it is nice, again, in this scenario, to kind of just see how everything comes apart. You're putting it together piece by piece and pieces by pieces. And, then to just take it all apart, sometimes it's more painful than you thought, and sometimes it goes so quick and you're surprised, like, wow, this thing's freaking serviceable. Now, here's a great example of why building cars and doing stuff like this can take a long time. I could have sworn this lift plate I had was for an LT, but it's not. It's for an LS, and they are not the same, the valley cover area. And looking at it, it was close. And I thought, well, I've got an LT, I've got an LS. I might as well drill some extra holes in this thing that kind of hopefully line up with the LT so that we can use it on the LT, because it'd be a lot easier. I got this sling lift deal that I was using before, and it was just kind of a pain. This lift plate works so much better. So with that done, I'm going to go ahead and pop the doors off. Definitely one of the nice benefits to working on a race car. Downside is you got to work around the cage. Upside, you can pop the doors off real easily. But yeah, getting the bell housing bolts out, and man, I haven't done this in a while. I haven't had to say this in a while, but I stripped one. They're Allen bolts. I don't know why I put Allen bolts in there. I think to mock up the transmission with the engine bolted in. I don't know. Don't ask me, because I don't know why I did it. Past me definitely made future me's life difficult, but we did the old hammer and the Torx. We got it apart. Moral of the story. So now it's time to take it apart. Pull the engine out for the first time in quite a long time. I couldn't tell you the last time the engine was out of this thing. And the dry sump pump's pretty tight to the motor plate bracket, but fortunately, the little finagling, we were able to get it out. And, that was my biggest thing that I was worried about, was dealing with getting the dry sump pump around there without having to take it all apart. And so that's really good news that we were able to get it out without that. Apparently my chain was twisted, but hey, we're partying. We got the engine out. Quick and easy, just like I expected / hoped. Sometimes you hope and it doesn't work out. But now the engine's out, we got to pull the mid plate out and basically just open up a starter pocket. It's something I meant to do when I was test fitting this. This mid plate was originally for a rotary, and I modified it to cut out the center and add the bell housing bolt pattern for an LS. But what I hadn't done yet was the starter, because I think at the time I didn't have the starter on hand, so I wasn't sure, exactly how it was going to fit and how much clearance we needed. Now I know, but now I also have a little CNC machine. I did all the other machining with by hand with a router, so this should be a lot better, but it is a lot large on the mini mill there, so it's kind of tough to get it fixtured in a way where it wasn't going to crash itself, but we managed to get it done, and looks like the starter is going to fit now. We got plenty of clearance, and we got clearance to get to the clocking adjustment bolts, which is really important to me, because that's one of the biggest benefits of these starters, is you can clock them so you can get some extra clearance around headers or whatever. In our case, it allows us to hopefully will allow us, once we get this all together, to get to the crank sensor, which is normally kind of requires pulling the starter out. So that being said, it's modified. It's back together. Well, it's modified. It's ready. The starter fits, which is what we had to do all of this for, just for the dang starter. But it fits. It ships. It's ready to go, and the engine is bolted back in officially. It's pretty easy, all things considered. I almost didn't think to do this, and not that it matters that much, but went ahead and labeled my LT specific holes, so that way we know for the future which is LS and which is LT, because I guarantee you this won't be the last time I'm pulling an LT in and out, and it definitely won't be the last time pulling an LS in and out. But yeah, anyway, engine's back in, got to hold the tape off for the first time in years, and finally bolting this intake. This intake has never been fully bolted down. I've always mocked it up with, a bolt in each corner, or maybe 2 bolts even, and it's so silly, but just to have all the bolts in and tightened down with the gasket and no tape, it's a pretty cool feeling. And speaking of, I'm going to do the same for the exhaust manifold to finally bolt them on with gaskets, with the proper nice ARP hardware that came with the original manifolds that we heavily modified to build our turbo hot side. Except this one manifold never fit quite right. I couldn't get all the bolts to line up, so we had to do a little ream and open up the holes just a tidbit, just to hopefully get all the bolts to line up and bolt on. This is something I've known I needed to do for a while, and matching the gasket confirmed it. But we got it. We got all the bolts in finally. We're really pretty painless. I thought we might have to do more ovaling and die grinder in, and it really wasn't that bad. Just open it up, mainly the middle hole a tiny bit, and now we can put it all back together. But again, we're not going back together. Well, it is, but it was together in mock-up form, and now it's going to be together in final form. I mean, hopefully final form. I probably shouldn't say that, but you know what I mean. It's not just all loosely popped in there to just kind of see how it all fits and ships, you know. This is like, it's all going together, and I don't know, man. Just a good feeling. It's a good feeling. You spend a lot of time figuring out these odds and ends, getting everything to fit together and line up, and all the hoses and the routing and the clamps and the this and the that, and then to tighten it all down and put it all in legit. It just feels freaking cool, man. I gotta make this a little longer. But yeah, I had to make I did have to redo my hose. I normally I do my hose too short all the time, and I used to do them too long, and then now I did it too short. But yeah, anyway. Oh man, yeah. So I keep stock of these oil filters, so gotta grab one out the case. All right, well, it's all not only back together, but together. We got all the bolts in the intake manifold, no tape. Gaskets, well, they're O-rings on the intake, but you know what I'm saying. Gaskets on the exhaust manifold, the proper bolts. Basically, all that's really left, we've obviously got the starter, which we need to get in, but we need to get the crank sensor in first, which I totally forgot about. That and the cam sensor. So they're ordered, they should be here in a day or so. Well, I don't want to be that optimistic, but should be here by the time we absolutely need them, if that makes sense. Obviously we want to put the crank sensor in before we put the starter in. So we got plenty of other stuff to do anyway while we are waiting for those to get here. The flex plate too is something else I forgot about. I remembered it before the cam and crank sensor. Order them all together. So that way, obviously the starter has something to engage. That's that with that. That's what we need. Okay, so fuel pumps. I was planning on doing this last time. But we've got this Deechworks surge tank set up, and this is their new deal. So basically it allows us to run, instead of just 3 non-brushless pumps, we can run 3 brushless pumps. You know, get all the stuff in there situated. We really only need 1 for right now, and then our feed. I do need to test the tank. I do need to do that. So maybe we'll pull the surge tank out, pull the fuel tank out, test it, load the surge tank, get our controllers in. Yeah, that's probably what we'll do. We'll get the fuel system finished up, so that way it's ready to go. I'm probably going to just start it for the first time on E, but anyway, we're not worried about that right this second. Yeah, that's basically that. Once we get all the pumps in there and stuff, we're pretty simple from there. Just a few, very, very few things. So we're chugging. We're on track. Get this baby started up. So let's keep chugging. Oh, that's close. Alright, it is completely full of water. I'll let it sit for a few minutes and then we'll put air to it. I had to I'm like drying all the water that got on it off. That's the only problem. So far so good though. Even if I tip it on its side, it doesn't appear to be leaking. I'm honestly going to be pretty shocked if we don't have at least a pinhole. I mean, I'd prefer we didn't, but... Everything seems good, except for maybe here. Okie dokie. Fuel pump time. We got pump controller. Pump controller. Pump controller. Pump controller. Sounds like I'm saying pumpkin controller. You don't get it. You wouldn't understand. Yeah, so Brandon included these Johnnies, so I would assume I need them. This guy. So basically, we gotta put 3 of these. Look how crazy that is. Look how small this pump is. Oh, I need a razor knife. Oh, I figured out what those things are for. They're for the pump itself. Look how small this pump is. 810 liters per hour. And we're gonna be cranking the vibe girl on these things. We're gonna be cranking these things up to like, oh, you know, like 100 PSI or so. Because we need our injectors. We need to basically get the most out of our injectors. Wow, that's pretty cool. I didn't even realize that these had like interchangeable top fittings. Metal top fittings. Look at that. Wow. Wow. Shout out to Eachworks. These are nice. Okay, yeah, I'm not gonna waste your time with this. So I'll show you the completed hodgepodge. It's not a hodgepodge, but the completed thing with all the pumps in it. Ready, steady, spaghetti. Weak snap, hold on. Boom, all right. All done, we got all our wiring. We got, no, shoot, yes, no. Okay, lowest pump is actually in the middle. I gotta remember that, remind me. Cool. I'm gonna toss this thing back in, which actually, while you're here. Easy peasy, baby. I used to always make them too long, too. And surge tank's good to go. Baby, let's go. Go, go, go. Bro, no. Yo. Oh, what's wrong with me? Anyway, let's get to it. So, as expected, I did find a pinhole on the bottom, this little sump thing that I had to weld on after I built the tank, because the fitting, if you saw the episode where we built the tank, you'll remember this. But anyway, point is, I had a little pinhole. I'm surprised we didn't have more, to be honest with you, but I guess I'm used to building tanks out of aluminum, and I feel like it's a bit easier to get a pinhole than it is on stainless. I think it's my first stainless tank, but I took the opportunity while I had it out on the bench, not with fuel in it, to go ahead and weld, you know, put a little extra weld on the corners and stuff where it might have a pinhole or rub through. And I also, while it was out, went ahead and committed to my pump controller mounting location. I debated this longer than I should have for something as simple as the pump controllers, and then I saw an opening, and I'm like, you know what, I'm just putting them here. I'm just gonna put them here. Problem solved. So got those down there, perfect kind of spot because they're easy reach to get to the pumps themselves or the surge tank. And then we've got our one lone wolf pump controller that is down by the pump that feeds the surge tank. So we basically got a pump to feed the surge tank, and the surge tank is what's feeding the engine, right? So yeah, anyway, basically got that done, got the tank tested again. All was well. All was happy in the little town of RX7. So anyway, we can put that in, put it back together, put the surge tank back in, get all our lines hooked back up. It's kind of the same as how the engine, you know, real satisfying to put it back in and put everything back together. It's the same kind of deal, you know, knowing you got to take something back apart. Again, not usually a fan of that old mock-up, take it apart, put it back together thing, but knowing you have to versus having got through the take it apart, put it together phase it's nice. So anyway, a lot of wires here because the brushless pumps require 3 wires. It's not just power and ground, right? You have a control, a variable frequency, which is one of the cool things about these pumps is that they can be 2 stages. So we can run them on low or run them on high, and then we can also run each one individually. So we have a ton of adjustability in how much pump flow we're outputting at any given time, which is nice. You don't want, you know, a pump running full tilt all the time when you're just idling, you know, it's kind of a waste. So on that same kind of note, right, we need fuel, we need spark. And the coil pack situation, I got some coil pack brackets off Amazon, and I had a feeling they probably weren't going to be right for these MSD smart coils I have, and of course they weren't. And I tried a few ways to modify them, but ended up settling on basically putting them in little pairs. So I had to turn down the spacers to get them right, and then basically bolt all these together effectively. Oh, well, this dang coil pack situation has been kicking my... You know, it's been a struggle. Made these work, but the problem is the way they would mount they either stick up too high or whatever. So I tried making this bracket, which this works. I got to drill 2 holes in it to mount it, but this will work, but not where I wanted to. I originally wanted to put these up in the wiper cowl here because it'd be cleaner, keep them out of the way, all that. But problem is the universal make your own plug wire set that I have, the nice ones with ceramic boots, are meant for like, small blocks, something with the distributor, the ends. They don't have the LS style ends that I need, which kind of screws me up. So I was like, well, I have a set, I just put them up, but a set of just off the shelf LSLT ceramic boot plug wires, which would work if I can mount the coil packs close by to the spark plugs. So I started trying to come up with some sort of mounting situation for here. And it's like I could fit 2, but fitting 4, not really gonna happen. Not to mention, we gotta get a charge pipe through here. You know, there's just a lot going on. This side, it would be manageable, still tight, but point is, we got a lot of stuff going on down here. It's just the reality of it. So, we have to put them in the cowl. Now, unfortunately, I figured out a solution. 2-part solution. I got this cheap plug wire kit, like Extendo mod plug wires, for us to get it started up and get our lengths and all that squared away. But I ordered the LS style boot ends because I realized if I just put those kind of ends on these, then I'm good. Then I got LS universal plug wires, basically. So, and then these can be spares or whatever, you know, but that way we can get it done and get all our lengths figured out. So we just need to mount the coil packs. Doing that, I gotta make 3 more of those brackets / finish that one. But also, fuel system fully done and back together. I think, oh, this one's making me a liar, but all the fittings are tightened down. All the pumps are wired too, tested, re-welded, whatever, back in. All this is back together. Fuel system fully together. Just gotta hook those up. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. So basically the coil packs have been, like I said, man, I've spent quite a bit of time on this. Not even trying to make it perfect. Just trying to make it work. You know, I was actually trying to save time by not having to make the custom plug wires that I couldn't even make. You know what I mean? But anyway, point is, boom. And then we got all the pieces in play effectively to go ahead and grab the ECU down off my shelf over here. I like this shelf. I'm gonna be sad for it to be missing a couple pieces, all my electronic stuff. But yeah, start hooking and booking. ECU harness. Starting this car. Oh, I'm gonna get back to work. These plug wires are so dinky though, we could definitely never run them long term. Okay. What did I say? What did I just say? All right, back to it. Yeah, we're just kind of at that point where basically it starts to get tight. Things start to fill in. You start mounting stuff initially, and that's why it's easy to go down this thought loop rabbit hole where you never get anything done because you're so worried about stepping on your own toes later on. Because as you put more stuff in, space starts to get taken up pretty quick, and you might put one thing somewhere because it goes there, fits there, just fine. But then you go to put this other thing, and that thing can't go where the other thing could have gone. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, we got our little super simple brackets done, and now we gotta, I've never made plug wires before actually. I've always kind of tried to avoid this because I thought it would be kind of a nightmare, but really it's not too bad. I mean, cutting them all to length, a little tricky to, you know, make sure I didn't cut 2 small ones or whatever, but yeah, basically just kind of trim it down, flip the little center back, and then crimp the connector on. The problem is I tried initially to use the 135 degree boots, but getting the boots back over was virtually impossible. So switched to the straight boots, and now we just gotta pop another hole in this side, the driver's side, because the passenger side already had a hole from the previous life iteration of this car. And, you know, we got a nice hole to shove our wires through and just try to make a semi-matching one on the driver's side here so we can get our plug wires routed. Well, I've got very, very little faith in these plug wires, but they're in. I ended up going with the straight boots because the 135 degree ones were such a pain to reseat. Anyway, I got those on. Got our coil packs mounted. This is the best way to do it just because of the angle here. Doing it that way didn't really work. But yeah, so we got 1, 3, 5, 7, 2, 4, 6, 8. It's like opposite. I didn't mean to do that. But it is also left to right. Like 1, 3, and then if you're over there, 2, 4, right? That's how I'm justifying it. Yeah, okay, cool. Now it's time for the BS de resistance. Obviously, we'll clean those holes up and like put something there. It's just, you know, we're in testing stages. Yeah, the ECU and the harness. Whew. I can't believe we're here. We're so close. So anyway, only way to get closer is to keep chugging. You know what I say. I always say the same dang thing. Let's get back to work. All right, first and most important piece of this puzzle is our Holley Dominator. I actually got a lightweight one for this car. This one was for another project. But I want to save the lightweight one in case we end up going EFI on the Miata, which I don't plan to. So maybe if anything, I'll swap that one in. It's not that huge of a difference, but you know, the other one's red. It's cool, I like red. Anyway, yeah, I need this. So I have a Dominator on the Vet, and you know, there's a lot of ECU companies out there. I've had great luck with Holley from the Terminator side of it, where it's just super simple and plug and play for naturally aspirated, or even a turbo LS like the turbo truck over there. It just works, man. It just works. But the Dominator side of it, I have a Dominator in the Vet, and if you look at how many connectors we have, that's not necessarily to run the engine, that's to run all sorts of stuff. Like, we basically only need 2 of these connectors for what runs the engine, main sensors, all that. This is all extra inputs, outputs. We can basically automate everything by how many inputs and outputs we have. And that is, I think, one of the biggest areas Holley outdoes everybody is with the number of inputs and outputs. You will never, I mean, I guess you could. It would be very hard to run out. So, yeah, anyway, big fan. Works great in the Vet. Very reliable, fully potted. It is like heavy duty. So anyway, that's what we have. I have 2 harness options. I have unterminated one, and then I have this pre-made one. Now, the only downside is this pre-made one is an LS harness, not a LT harness. There are a couple differences, mainly in the cam and crank sensor. So we may need to either change the ends or get some adapters. I'd probably just change the ends. But yeah, anyway, pretty simple for us to wire up right now. Start figuring out where we're gonna put this. Make sure wherever we want to put it, that this will reach. So as I said, we are using basically just a full Gen 4 LS harness on what is a Gen 5 LT. And there are some pretty major differences. There's also some changes we got to make in terms of the fact that we remote mounted the coil packs. Part of why I wanted to, you know, be quick. I'm not gonna say be lazy, be quick, and just mount them by the thing so that way we didn't have to do this. But I basically just had to open up the harness a bit to extend it to where they could all plug in, because the plugs are opposite each other and it wasn't quite long enough. And then figure out the harness, which, yeah, for the coil packs, since they're in a very different spot, we gotta modify the harness to get the coil pack plugs in the right spot. And had to modify our fuel injector harness. Modifying. Lots of modifying. Alright, well, bit of a good news, bad news situation here. This is the LS cam sensor. So I got this ICT build extended cam sensor for if you delete the VVT, which we did do. But because we have the LME valve or timing cover, it's thinner, so we just need the regular sensor. Luckily, I was able to order that from O'Reilly's. It'll be here tomorrow. Got the crank sensor from ICT. got our flex plate, which is one of the biggest things we needed. Downside is I'm dumb and didn't think about the fact that these are very different connector style to these. It's the same for the crank. So what I did was, let me show you actually. I ended up, where is it? Heat shrinking the pins. And so for startup, we can just slide the pins onto the pins and yeah, try it, basically. I did order the connectors, but they're not gonna be here for another few days. So yeah, that's that. We got the harness modified. So the coil pack connectors are like way down here. Now I've got them, this trying to fall off. I got them back here. And then this is the cylinder head ground. It'll be fine. Yeah, injectors, injector harnesses in, coil pack sub harnesses modified and installed. Cool. We got pretty much everything. I guess I'm gonna go ahead and route it and then try to get the crank sensor in. See if I can't get those pins on it. If that works, then we're good there. And then I can put the starter in. Yeah, and if that works, we can get the cam sensor tomorrow. Dook, dook, dook. And I'm pretty much ready to try to start it. I got my MSD relay block. These things are the bee's knees for wire and high current stuff. And I got these other relay boxes, these other MSD relay boxes. Because maybe I'll retain them, maybe I'll switch it to a PDM, I don't know. But we got enough stuff to do all of that stuff. Again, it's just a matter of, oh, and my freaking connector showed up to redo the plug wires. Well, we'll get it started with these plug wires. Yeah, basically just kind of screwed the pooch on the cam sensor. One of those things. This is like what eats up a lot of budget when it comes to building cars, at least if you're trying to do it like this. Paid for extra shipping, but realized that it was 1 per pack. It looked like 2 in the picture, so then I had to order another one, you know, just like a lot of stuff like that. But it's okay, it happens. Okay, I'm gonna try to get this harness in and routed. There's a lot going on here, you know. It's still trying to fall off. Just been chugging, just chugging. Let us get back to it.
So we're going a little less fancy-dancy on this, partially because the goal is, again, just to get it fired up. That's what we're doing, firing the dang thing up. But also then the vet. So with the vet, I did use an existing harness, which I need to build a new harness for that car. I want to build my own engine harness. But just like this, we're using an off-the-shelf harness. But on that, you know, we did a big bulkhead connector and all that. But since this has such kind of a nice spot to pass a harness through, it really wasn't a big deal to just pass the harness through it. We already had 2 holes there. We just had to open them up a bit and make them one, not quite a whole oval shaped thing. So anyway, we got the harness through the firewall down to roughly where we're going to put the ECU. Temporary spot right now. We got to determine proper spot. We got the battery out. Went ahead and got all our wiring hooked up on the, you know, all the sensors and stuff that we have that we can right this second. That's kind of the tricky part too, with the fact that we're doing this startup without having the charge piping done or the exhaust done, because there's sensors that would go places that we don't have to put them. But that's okay. It doesn't matter for our purposes. It's, you know, we're gonna get it started. That's the point. Did I mention we're gonna start it? We're gonna start it one way irritating the other. So yeah, anyway, I had to get the pumps wired up. We again only need 2 of them. We just need the lift pump to the surge tank and then 1 feed out of the surge tank, because we're just starting the dang thing. We're not, you know, not racing it just yet. But finally we have our flex plate. That's something I kept forgetting about, and you know, feels nice to have it. And get that thing popped on there. And speaking of popping things on there, we got to pop the starter in. Now this starter is being clockable. I clocked it, but it was a little tight with the bolt. It's kind of hard to explain. But I needed to clock it a little bit differently. I had gone too wide, and so, you know, just as soon as the flex plate was on there and in existence, I had to take it back off. But it's okay. Obviously, that's why I didn't lock tight the bolts or do anything too crazy, because, you know, temporary mock-up. But that's one thing too, though, with this whole mock-up, you know, get it started deal, is you gotta remember, we're gonna have to go through everything and check everything, because you don't know what you didn't fully tighten and do all that stuff. So anyway, I'm jibber-jabbering, rambling. Basically, we need to get the battery in place, and, you know, there's certain things that we're doing temporary. There's certain other things that, you know, be kind of a pain to do it temporary and then completely change it and have to redo it. So one of those things is mounting the battery. Now, fortunately, I put these exact same batteries, just 12 volt, this one's 14 volt, in the vet. And so I already designed my own custom, billet mounting brackets. So it was pretty easy peasy to just whip up another pair of them for this battery. Basically, all I had to do is just set up the cam program again, make sure I had the right size piece of stock, and let the machine do its thing. I've ran this machine enough now to know its limits and how fast I can go, and I can cut pretty dang fast, but it's still not, it's like less than an hour maybe. So while it's cooking, doing its thing, I wanted to go ahead and start getting our chassis wiring done. One of the main things we're going to need, on top of the fuel pumps, which I already got done, is some way to turn the starter over. So I have these little MSD relay boxes. I've got 1 channel, 2 channel, and 4 channel, and I thought, you know what, it'd be nice to have the starter just kind of on its own thing. And since we got to set up a temporary button anyway, I've always kind of wanted to have, a button in the engine bay like you see with the big blocks and the high RPM NA motors where people, have to turn them over to set the valve blast. But just, there's times where I'm by myself, a lot of times working, and, maybe you want to start it, but you want to be close by in case you got to check something. You don't have to get in the car to work the throttle. And so anyway, point is, we got a button on the dang firewall, baby. Or freaking drag race car. So anyway, now we gotta finish up the battery mounts. It's easier to just drill them in the drill press than to try to switch tooling to let the machine mill the holes and get those bolted to the battery, so we can then get the battery bolted into the car, because that's kind of what's the opposite of brains? The muscle, the heart of everything, right? We need power, more power.
Little tip, crimp your ends for your battery cables. I used to think that soldering them was the more proper way, but I had to learn that lesson the hard way, because what happens is if you solder them and the wire gets loose, it'll get hot and it'll melt the solder and then disconnect and short. You don't want that. Crimp, 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 crimp. Crimp everything. I just paused my music to tell you that, so I hope you take it to heart, I'm just chugging away at these odds and ends of wires. We're going to do this a little bit differently maybe, long run. So I'm trying to keep everything a little long, except these. This is permanent, unless I reroute it. I'm trying to make it to where the cables that need ends and stuff are, permanent. But the other wires, no big deal. I do it long and then cut it back later, once I know exactly where it needs to go. Anyway, that's how you know I'm hustling when I got stuff everywhere. Whew, all right, well, we are almost there, I think. We got our ignition switch there, and I ran it long, so that way it's here in the engine bay. And then our engine bay starter button, which I'm pretty excited about for when you're diagnosing and troubleshooting. Battery in, all the cables hooked up. Don't judge the rat's nest. That's the point of what we're doing right now. Got all our sensors connected besides wideband, which I'll probably need to plug in. Just dangle it like a carrot behind the exhaust, the turbine housing. Map sensor, that is one thing I keep forgetting about, because I don't know if any of my map sensors are here. Anyway, make sure I don't have a freaking oil hole or something somewhere that's gonna make our day not so fun. Ooh, yeah, I should do that. Anyway, I think you get the idea. Chugging, I've been just trying to chug, and I'm happy with my chuggingness. Add this to the list of weird things we gotta do for this. The oil pressure sensor on these is M12 by 175, which now that I think about it, I don't know, I got a bolt to block it off for right now. I had to grind the flange of the bolt down, cut it down, and then put an O-ring on it to seal it. All right, well, good news, bad news. Bad news is that, no, I'm just kidding. I've had to figure out a lot of sensor stuff, but good news is, in my time figuring all that out, I got my crank and cam sensor pin connectors, so I just gotta make sure I get this right.
If you've ever messed with pinning and depinning stock automotive connectors, it's not the most fun. And as the vehicles get newer, the connectors get smaller, which is nice in some ways, but it also makes it hard to work on. You need some smaller fingers to get up in there.
Oh, that was a struggle, but one done. Oh, it's gonna be kind of hard to do with one hand though. Yeah, probably gonna have to do that from the bottom. But let me do the other connector, and then we will party on. That's good though. It makes me feel a lot better. Like this whole jerry rigging it to start it, I'm not opposed to. Obviously, that's why I'm doing it. But at the same time, I'm like, the cam and crank sensor part were bothering me the most. So having those dialed, like everything else is trivial. So getting there. Hopefully, once I finish this, do a final check over, prime the oil system. If that goes well, prime the fuel system. If that goes well, try to start. Well, we got ignition on, get hooked up to the ECU, make sure that works. You know what I'm saying. 6, and then ignition. On. All right, a little trial and error. It's been a while. I had to upgrade the firmware and got it all updated. TPS is reading, our map is reading. Voltage is reading. That's all kind of all the main things I can check. So, yeah, basically, now we need to prime the systems, all the systems, because we got to fill, you know, it's fresh. So we got to fill all these lines. If all of those things go well, then we can try to start it. So let me get to it, get this stuff done, put some Earl in it for the first time. Crazy.
This being a dry sump, this is only a 2-gallon tank, so 8 quarts, but you can't fill it all the way, so it's really 6 quarts, unless you spill it. It's 1/6. But between the whole system, all the lines, the pump, what's in the pan, it becomes quite a bit more. So that's why I don't worry about running too small of a tank. It ain't too small. It's plenty big enough.
It's annoying though, because you gotta kind of keep your pulleys just right. You know what? Actually, I haven't done it this way in a long time because I messed up the Miata's shaft doing this, but pretty well primed. But it don't appear at first glance. I mean, I need to dig out all my fire extinguishers to make sure I'm ready. So I got time enough to prime the pumps and everything. We don't want too much in it, just in case, you know, if we have leaks. I'd find out without a freaking 5 gallons in the tank. Also, I put my custom steering bar back on because if there were to be a fire, we want to be able to get this thing away from all the other things. These are things I definitely did not think about in my younger years. Oh, there's my fire strippers. I've been looking for these all day. Found them. Well, we know it's making it out. I found a leak. I think we're about ready. I think it's time. It's time. It's like exciting but nerve-wracking. And I have the least confidence I've probably ever had for a first start, purely because we're missing so many sensors, at least being in the right spot. I've got a tune for an LS. The Vet's motor should effectively be the same. I'm not 100% sure on the cam though, if the cam's 4 or 1X, if that's 4 or 1X. There's a lot of unknowns, right? Like, I'm just kind of hoping that it'll fire up on the Vet's tune, and that like the coil packs are all wired correctly, the spark plugs or boots are crimped. You know, there's a lot of things. So anyway, got my fire extinguishers, got the car off the lift so we can roll it outside if worst comes to worst. Yeah, I guess. Oh man, I guess let's do it. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. We're gonna do it. We gotta at least try, right? It does bother me that I don't have oil pressure, but okay, we're doing it. I said we're doing it. You know, we're gonna do what we can. Oh, all right. Well, let's just see if. Okay, that works. Okay, we don't have fuel pumps though for some reason. Well, at least we know the starter button works. Yeah, anyway, I gotta figure this out. We're not getting fuel pump, but I don't know if that's even our main problem. I think we're not getting crank sensor signal, which is one of the things I was worried about. All right, well, as it turns out, I didn't even have a freaking global file in there. I thought I'd put it in anyway. Sit down. This will be the first real try. Oh, Lordy. Steady running fuel pumps, but you know what? We probably need to do a TPS auto set. Okay, promising. All right. Well, I switched the crank sensor wires because I realized that the diagram I pulled up was for LS, and from what I understand, they're opposite. I hope that's the case because that would solve our problem. But we shall find out. Alright. I feel like it started at RPM there. Well, did something. I was just checking the RPM. See, now I'm a little worried about the cam sensor because I have it wired the same. Let me check that. Stand in front of it, son. Well, I got timings off, and my masking tape did not hold up. I was worried about that. All right, take 76. I swapped the cam wires. I've seen mixed information on which. All right, well, as expected, I told you I had the least confidence. At least I had the least confidence of easy first startup, just because we got so much craziness going on with an LT, LS harness, we've got a couple problems. One, the dry sump tank is leaking. There's a seal around here, and I probably didn't clean it well enough when I put it back together. Also, this cap on the dry sump pump is a little leaky. Turn the ignition off. I phoned a friend, Matt Apple. For those of you who've watched for a long time, me and Matt Apple go way back. He is the reason I built the LS Miata, actually. Well, and the turbo truck. I wanted to build a turbo LS street truck because of his Don't BS Me Colorado build series. Anyway, great guy, super knowledgeable, awesome, total nerd in a good way, like for cars, you know. Anyway, he's always helped me with tuning and, you know, sent me tunes and helped me figure stuff out, and I'm a very independent person. I like to know how to do things. So over time, I've gotten a lot better. And I was hoping I could get through this without having to phone a friend. But I had to phone a friend. And so what he instructed me to try is switching it to basically only use the crank. So we'll see if it's an issue with the cam. There's a possibility we have a 1X cam gear, but I don't know. If that's the case, it would explain it. And if it fires up now on batch fire, then that would also explain it. So anyway, that's basically where we're at. But again, the dry sump tank's leaking, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. I just wanna get it started. Once we get through that, then we can figure out the rest. So let's see if, I just hate these backfires. They're so freaking stressful. It's like, it almost reminds me of when I was trying to start the vet and I had the coil pack like harnesses plugged in backwards, because the longer one I thought normally would be for the driver's side and it wasn't, so I quadruple checked in this case. All right, keep an eye on the RPM. We need to know if it's RPM. Yeah, it's reading. Don't understand, man. So everybody just do LSX 58X. I did switch the cam and crank sensor again, the cam sensor wires again. I don't know, man. I don't get it. I don't get it. It's just tough, man. It's just frustrating. It's like I can't find accurate information on the cam and crank sensor pins. Like which pin goes where. It's like all this freaking internet we have, and I can't find the same information anywhere. Everywhere shows different things. I'm just going off it being opposite LS. So I can find LS, so then I just do the opposite, which is what I just did. And now it backfires even worse. Got oil leaking out of everywhere. All right, well, pulled the tank out. Basically, the clamp was going all the way tight. It was bottoming out before it tightened down. So put the clamp in the vise, tightened it down, so that way they would squeeze tighter on this middle. We're gonna put it back together and hope for the best. I did have to swap out the battery because I can't for the life of me find my 14-volt charger. So got the Miata's old battery in here. And yeah, oil drain. I'm gonna put this tank, put it all back together, fill it with oil, make sure it's not leaking out of the tank first, and then if so, we'll reprime it and then try again. I don't want to switch hands because I'll get the camera more oily than I already have. All right, well, after filling just the tank, I let it sit for about an hour, and I'm reasonably satisfied. It's not leaking. So that's good. I put a plug in over here where this cap thing was that I just put over here for now. That's where the engine's gonna vent into. But yeah, put this cap in there. I don't know if you can see it. I need to put the belt back on. Oh, I primed the system. So I verified that the tank wasn't still leaking like crazy. So yeah, now I guess we try to start it again. Oh, I'm gonna pull some fuel out of the just out of the base, out of the idle. So I think it's overfueling on cranking, so we can't even really get a great idea of if it's starting okay, or if it's, you know what I mean? Because I got to keep turning the fuel off because it keeps just dumping fuel. So I got my oil mess cleaned up. I'm in a better mood. I was a little grumpy. I get grumpy when I got clutter, like something's going wrong, and I got clutter, and I got like fluids on the floor. It just bugs me. Yeah, let me do that. Which I almost don't want to turn you on, because if I turn you on, then it definitely won't start. But if I don't, then that's when usually it'll start. But then I will miss the first start, you know? It's a dilemma. Okay. Well, I'm an idiot. I went and checked the harness to make sure that where all of these pins were was correct for each cylinder. And I'm like, oh my gosh, they're backwards. Wow. They got like 2, 3, 4, all of them backwards. Wait, now the other side's backwards too. Oh, duh. This needed to go the opposite of the way I did it. Like this would be the furthest back one. It's partially the, remote mounting of the coils. I mean, I'm not making excuses, I'm just saying. I don't know if I've ever used this style, like this harness. Okay, well that's most likely it. Explain a lot. I don't like to get my hopes up in these scenarios, but that would definitely explain it. I'm going to double check these. So, green, orange, blue, pink. Green, orange, yellow, gray. Yes. Okay. All right. We're good. Are we ready? I mean, I don't want to get my hopes up, but Let's freaking go, dude. Wow, what a dumb mistake. You know what's hilarious is on the vet, the first time I started it, I pulled my hair out. Same way. Same freaking way. And what it ended up being was that the main coil pack connectors, the big connector for the sub harnesses were flipped. I was trying to start the vet and I had the coil pack, like the harnesses plugged in backwards because it had it. Oh my gosh. Well, I blew a bunch of, hopefully I didn't hurt the dang motor. I normally wouldn't be worried about that, but there's some gnarly backfire. Let's try it just for funsies. Actually, I'm going to adjust the idle up a little bit. Alright, let's try it again. It's always something with first engine starts. Well, it runs, safe to say. It freaking runs! I gotta be honest, I was told you I was frustrated, and I was frustrated. Part of it, so let me qualify, part of it, the problem is that, you know, we had to chase our tail with the whole cam crank sensor situation, getting mixed information left and right. And that is an easy trap to fall into. Obviously, I've been doing this a long time and I fell right into that trap where you have one issue and then when something doesn't work, you just chase your tail thinking it's got to be related to that. You know what I mean? Versus like if I wasn't worried about that and we didn't have that issue, I might have approached it different. And I'm not saying I would have figured it out. But I'm just saying, I was so stuck on it being a camera crank sensor pickup setting issue. Yeah, wow. It does feel cool to hear it run. Now, I got the fittings to do the low pressure. Let me collect myself. Let me close these doors too once I get some of this air out of here. Keep the AC in, it's hot. And we'll talk. All right, so as I was saying before I so rudely interrupted myself, I got the fitting to do the oil pressure sensor, but it was inverted from what I needed. But I've got, basically, we'll just plug this like we have it, and then come off this for the oil pressure, and run the sensor to the back with a remote line just like this. We can tidy up this one. This is just temporary, a lot of temporary, but good news is it fires up. I'm happy about the starter button in the engine bay, pretty nifty. And the way this is, we can set up another button, no problem. This will obviously change. This won't be our main ignition switch. I'm pretty sure, though, I'm just going to not PDM it and use other type of stuff. I want to make kind of like a board for the ECU and everything. But yeah, whew, first start, dude, finally. It's been a while since I first started something. Again, I said this 2 videos ago when I started this journey to focus on getting it started. Normally, I don't prioritize that because, like, what difference does it make if it starts, if it doesn't have exhaust and, you know, charge piping and transmission and all these other things. But I'm glad I did it. I don't regret it. But yeah, basically, that's some stuff we got to do. I'm really excited to do the charge piping, do the exhaust. We can get the O2 sensors in instead of currently just hanging out, reading the vicinity air. Charge piping I'm real excited about. We've got all our pieces. I can't remember. I've done so much in this one. I can't remember what I showed you or not, but I got all my nice tight radius 90s. I got these 3 to 4 inch reducers for making our charge piping easy. We've got 3 inch, we got 4 inch. We got V-bands, got quick seals. Got everything we need to fabricate the exhaust and the charge piping, which is really all we have left to fabricate on the fabricating side of things. One of the biggest pieces of the puzzle that we still need is a transmission. But not a big deal. We'll have to redo the transmission mount. Also not a big deal. Or modify it. I don't even want to redo it. I just want to modify it. Tidy up the lines, drive shaft cover, get the seat mounted. We can proper wire our electronics, dash in. There's not that much left. Suspension, that's a big one. Shocks and things. Suspension stuff front and rear. Mainly just shocks, steering. But that's not too bad. Actually, I didn't even check this to see if it's leaking. So far, I think we're okay there. Oh, I left this vent closed, whoops. Yeah, basically, jibber jabber. I'm sure there's more stuff that I'm forgetting, but It's starting. It's about to rain, so this timing's perfect because you won't be able to hear me once it starts pouring. Yeah, I'm so pumped. I feel like we can make such huge progress again next episode because during this I've got so many pieces, like all the stuff to do the vents, and I'm just relieved. This is a stressful day fighting with this thing, all to be the dang coil pack connectors, which in hindsight it makes total sense, right? If you think about it, if you have this connector here, you would have this at the back if the coil packs were mounted here. So you would go 7, 5, 3, 1. The way I did it was like, 1, 3, 5, 7. Anyway, you get the idea. Yeah, okay. Whew. Let me quit jibber jabbering. This is already probably long because, again, we did a lot of different stuff in this one. But I feel so good. I hope you guys are excited. As excited as I am that this thing finally freaking started. Hearing it, the turbo, like there's something about the way a twin turbo car sounds when it starts up. I actually never had a twin turbo car besides like the F80. It's stock though. But you know what I mean. Twin turbo, it's just, wow. I should have I was going to hit Jose up to tell him to come by for the first startup if he wasn't busy. But I was like, for all I know, it won't start. And that was yesterday, so it would have been a disappointment. So. But, yeah, wow. What a feeling, man. Feels so good. I'm so pumped. Okay, I'm going to quit jibber jabber and we'll pick up where we left off next time and just keep chugging. We really don't have far to go, though, before this thing sees the track. So, okay. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see you next time. All right, goodbye.
For that traffic, roger that. 25 minutes,
Go off of traffic on a 3-mile final off your nose is my mission on the left.
That was pretty good for the conditions. Yeah, that's pretty good. We can head back now if you want. Yeah, I was gonna say if you wanna head back, I'm in. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm feeling good. 432 Quebec, requesting departure back to Lakeland.
432 Quebec, right down with departure Lakeland is approved.
Right down with departure Lakeland. Approved. November 432 Quebec. Perfect. Your calls are really good. Much improved.